Welcome to Gray Overload. I'm Anthony, and here we have it. The RTX 4080 reviews are out, and here are going to be my thoughts on that. It's a interesting card, and once we round this all out to see where it all is, you do have performance uplift, right? You have performance uplift over the 3090. It's about 30%. It's better than the 3080, of course, and the it's about 30% uplift from the 4080 to the 4090. So there's a significant step there between the 4080 and 4090, 30% right there, which is interesting. Right now, the power is way more efficient on this. A lot of reviewers were saying how they were impressed with the power. So what's interesting with Lovelace of how Nvidia did this is I think that they kind of made sure that they pushed the 4090 as fast as it could go, and trying to make sure that they would beat AMD. Now, a few of my thoughts about these graphics cards leading up to it: I didn't think Nvidia was just going to concede that performance crown. They will hit that no matter what they had to do, and they did. So 4 8-pin power connectors into a 16-pin to be able to accomplish that. Now the RTX 4080 is only 3 pins into that one 16-pin adapter. Who knows where that all lines up here, but if you have any melting issues or whatever else, but you're using a lot less power here. I don't think that's going to be the case. And as they manufacture more and more of these adapters, you're going to get tighter and tighter tolerances, and they're going to understand more, I think, going forward. First gen product, that's what you expect when you have an adapter like this that hasn't really been used before. So that's also interesting. Then you have the benefits of better ray tracing over last generation, which is to be considered here as well. If you're looking at that for performance, take that into account. Take into your DLS3, the frame rate generation. I'm not completely sold on that right now anyways, but if that's something that you are looking at, that's something to consider at this time, because it's not on the RTX 3000 series. Now, the performance is good. It looks like a great card overall. And let's look at some other stuff here about this, right? Nvidia has this web page, and they have going through. They really kind of let's go to specs here, which I think is a different page. So you do have that difference in RAM, right? You have the 8 gigs difference, the boost clock, but you look at it, your CUDA cores are down quite a bit. And even though that they say, oh, that's a max display resolution. But let's see here. We have Turing, Ampere, Ada Lovelace. So you have DLS Super Resolution Plus with frame rate generation, all the features, your encoders, right? This has AV1. That's something to keep in mind. You have your CUDA core difference here. So that's something to always pay attention to. What is it? 60%-ish of 65%-ish of the CUDA cores are in the 4080. The RAM difference, different bus, these are all things to take into consideration when you're looking at that. And it looks like Nvidia kind of overpriced this GPU where I think it should be. Right here we are with, and we can go back here, you get your generation improvements. They're talking about performance, your relative performance here in Flight Simulator versus a 3080 Ti. Yeah, I have some questions because DLS mode was on there. So there's that. Some of these games, and looking at the games and how they performed, you get, your difference, your 30% over your 3090, right? You get those benefits there. You get a better ray tracing experience. I think it's like about 50% uplift over the 3080. So you have that aspect, right? It's about 75% of the price, though, of a 4090. And as we dive into price here, I have a big question about why Nvidia kind of is going to keep it up that high, right? Is this going to be a long-term thing? Is this something to expect going forward? I don't expect Nvidia to change pricing. Now, my expectations on this is Nvidia has it a $1,600 GPU, a $1,200 GPU here in the United States, right? And I don't believe they're going to budge on that $1,200 pricing until maybe a 4080 Ti comes out. Maybe they drop the 4080 down a little bit, depending upon how AMD's cards release. AMD should have had their cards out by this release. It's kind of sad that way, right? AMD has a month before you're going to be able to see a comparison, giving Nvidia that lead time, and that's why I don't think Nvidia's going to change the price. Why would I? If I was Nvidia, why would I? Right? You have a full month before AMD can even compete in this arena of your 4080 and 4090, and everything else that you have in the 3000 series is competing with AMD already has. So who cares, right? You're going to keep on pushing this, try to sell through your old stock and move forward. But I would like to know what was the thinking behind, for, I guess this is just for my own internal stuff, knowing it, Nvidia wouldn't do anything. Why was that a $1,200 price point to start out with? Did you think that you can continue this longer, or are you just trying to price it so that $400 looks very attractive? Because when you're spending $1,200, an initial $400, is it an extra month of saving, 2 months? Is it worth it just to go to the 4090 over that 4080? And would you rather sell that and then sell that 4080 12 gig that is no longer around, right? Well, 4070 Ti or whatever they're going to call it. That's some of my thinking behind this. AMD's got to knock it out of the park to even consider Nvidia going through and changing the price, which I don't think they'll do. I think they're going to keep it Nvidia has a problem, right? Maybe it came down to this. They have a stacking, or they have an old supply problem, which is they have so much of their RTX 3000 series that they have to stack these GPUs on top of it. So as they cut the 3090 down in price, which is what, around $800 or so right now, I believe it last time I checked. Well, if that's the case, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below. I'm sure prices will change, but if you have that, right, you have an $800 GPU, the 3090, then you have your $1,200, then you have your $1,600 GPU. That middle one there, I don't know. I just double it up and pay. Once I get to $1,200, I'm kind of feeling like I'm going with the 4090, and I'm not gonna, or I'm gonna go with like last gen, maybe something used instead. So you're stacking your products, right? You're not really replacing them. They're not slotting into kind of where the product stack is going down to. AMD's high-end cards at 1,000. Now they say they compete with the 4080, which still seems, once you start factoring that, well, you might be a little bit more expensive than even what I would have liked to slot it in. But they at least kept that, where their 6900 is, they slotted that GPU in there rather than, really increasing it to that, $1,500 price point right around where Nvidia is at. Who knows? That could still happen. We'll see what AIBs do. Now, you have AIBs from Nvidia too. How many of those cards are going to be sitting at that MSRP on launch day, or are they going to start creeping up to where that 4090 is, and why not just go with the 4090 anyways? You have that problem too here. So there's a lot going on with this 4080, and I really think that to me, I would sit on the sidelines if I'm a cheapskate right now. I bought a $250 6700 XT. That's where my money's going right now, is a lot cheaper in the price range, not $1,200. $1,000 is way too more expensive for me right now. But I would probably sit out of this round if I was looking for a GPU until we see where AMD's cards slot in, And since that's December 3rd, I don't think you're in fear of these cards really being completely sold out, because if I'm Nvidia, I'm going to try to get a shipment um, of these cards right around that Christmas, right before Christmas time frame, because I want people to have something, going for Christmas, or if they're going to buy it right around that time frame, maybe hit, about a week before, and then also try to get shipment, maybe the next week after Christmas if they continue to sell out, because I want to hit, people that maybe want to buy one before Christmas and game over Christmas, and I want to hit people that are got money for Christmas that are then going to buy one, so that they can, let's say they off on break in January or something, they can game during then, right? I want to hit that sweet spot if I'm Nvidia, right? Nvidia is masters at marketers, and they're supposed to be masters of the supply chain. So if they're looking at this, they're probably hitting that holiday season as much as they can, even going into these struggling times of, the whole economic situation that's going on right now. So that's me. I want to see where AMD's at. I'm not completely sold on where they're at. Kind of disappointed about how they came out. Now they did come out with some specs here, yesterday or something. Somebody had something I was reading. I'm like, you could have released those with the your announcement, AMD. You're 12 days out, and you're deciding to drop it on that day. AMD's marketing does need help. There's many people giving their opinions on YouTube. Take some of those opinions, AMD. You can make a much better work of this than what you're at. But as for the 4080, it's a little expensive, right? Unless something changes, I don't see the reason to jump in for the 4080. Just get the 4090, especially on these custom cards. And it's still expensive either way. I really wish that they would have slotted in at prices. I mean, at $700, $750, this would be a card to go out and get. So that's where I'm at. Remember, the what was it? The GTX 980 was what, $550, and the 1080 was at $600, which was what, roughly just underneath 10% increase of price. But you got what was it, about 50% increase of performance, roughly. So yeah, over the years, so the 1080, then you had the RTX 2000, 3000, and now 4000 series, and you've gone from $600 to $1,200. We're kind of pricing out people in the gaming realm. If gaming's your hobby, ouch. And to me, gaming is a hobby. It's not something I do every day. And I guess that's what makes it kind of hard, right? You can go buy a console for $600. You can go get a used graphics card for anywhere from, I guess like 1,000 on down pretty easily now. I've heard of 3090s being as cheap as 800 or 700 on there. I think I saw one even for 6. It fluctuates on the used market. Trying to sell me a new card is getting kind of tough. And if the card does whatever you want at this current time, like I play 4K, and I don't play the latest games all the time. I kind of like some of my older games. This card does great, 4K, 144 hertz, and so far everything I've thrown at it works fine. If that's something that you're doing, right, and you're hitting all your frame rates that you want, do you need that card? That's another thing to consider here as well. So with that, let me know what your thoughts are on this RTX 4080. Where do you sit down? Yeah, it's got some performance, but its price doesn't make it something I'd even go out and recommend at this point. So maybe AMD comes out and they missed the 4080 by 15%, and this story changes quite a bit, which it would not look good for AMD at all. But Nvidia would be smelling like a rose, because then you have two cards in high performance that you could only get from Nvidia, and they would love that. So I don't know. Go down in the comments, let me know your thoughts, and Till next time, I want to say thank you guys for watching. Thank you for helping support Gray Overload and help this channel grow. I really appreciate it with all the help that this channel has gotten, all the growth. It's been a blessing to me. So with that, I want to say God bless, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.